Hi, I'm Joseph Hoffman, and this is part 3 of my 3-lesson series on March in D major BWV Anhang 122 by CPE Bach. Today we're going to be taking a quick look at the form, and then we'll discuss how to play March in D major with Artistry. All right, first up, to the score. Let's check out the form for March in D major. For form, we're always looking for cadences in the end of a section. And a repeat sign is a big clue that we've finished a section. Also, the fact that we land on this cadence here, a resting point. And so there's our A section, which repeats. So we know we've got an A section that repeats. And then here's our B section. We find the cadence here, repeat sign. We know we also have a B section that repeats, and this is standard binary form. 2 sections, each different, that repeat. But today let's take that a step further and also look at what keys we are traveling through. We know we start in the key of D major, and we call that the tonic or 1 chord because that's the key we're in, but we don't stay in the key of D. You'll notice as we're going along, CPE Bach throws in this G sharp. Aha, what is a G sharp doing in the key of D? That is not a diatonic note, which means it doesn't belong in the key of D, but it does belong in the key of A. And you'll notice we also cadence on an A major triad. CPE Bach has modulated or taken us into the key of A major, which is our dominant chord. And then where do we start the B section? Right there on that downbeat, we go to an A, and we still have these G sharps, which will make it sound like we're still in the key of A, or the dominant, but then CPE Bach takes away the G sharp. It becomes a G natural again. Then we wander around a little bit, which is common in a B section, before landing firmly back in the key of D. Notice we'll land on that D. By the end, we've gone back home to tonic. This piece takes us on a little harmonic journey. And this is one of the most common harmonic journeys in classical music, going from the tonic to the dominant, dominant back to tonic. We see this in sonata allegro form, but all the way back in the Baroque era, we are seeing this kind of tonic, dominant, dominant, back to tonic musical harmonic journey. Now, let's talk about playing March in D with Artistry. To play any piece artistically, it's helpful to know what musical era it was composed in. CPE Bach was born in the Baroque era, but died during the Classical era. So he's a composer that spans both eras. We don't know exactly when this piece was composed, but from the date on the cover of the Anna Magdalena Bach notebook, we know that it must have been composed sometime in the 1720s when Carl Philipp would have been barely a teenager. That means it's best to think of this piece as coming from the Baroque era when it comes to interpretation. With Baroque pieces, we generally do not use any damper pedal. And since this piece is called a march, it should be played with energy and excitement. Remember that this piece is in cut time. It would not be played 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, because we're in cut time, we only feel 2 beats per measure. So 1, 2, every half note gets a beat. And 1, and 2, and 1, and that really keeps it moving. And 1, and 2, and 1, and 2, and 1, and 2, and feel just those 2 beats per measure for it to have the right lively allegretto feel that we want. Another way to help capture that march lively feel is to observe all the staccato dots. You'll notice there's so many staccati, especially in the left hand. Give those a nice lively, bouncy feel. But then be sure to contrast that with these legato marks. And note that CPE Bach did not put these staccato dots or the slur marks in back in his time, composers tended not to put these kind of details like dynamics, articulations. That tended to come later. Bach trusted the musician to know the right style. And so I've added these in as suggestions. And if you find a place you'd really like to change a staccato to a legato, you could take that liberty. I've put these in as my best ideas of what will make it lively. Like if you did all legato in the left hand, listen to what that would sound like. I think that takes away from the liveliness. So I really like having a lot of staccatos and then just occasional legatos, but then sometimes a long one. When you have a long string of eighth notes, I think that's a really lovely place to do a legato, and that provides some contrast. Contrast in music, I think, is one of the most exciting ways to add artistry to music. If everything sounds the same, it gets boring really quickly. But by contrasting the legato in the right hand with the staccato in the left hand, notice how interesting that sounds. If both hands were staccato, I don't know, that sounds a little bit too robotic to me. Or if both hands are legato, then it sounds a little too mushy, schmaltzy. But this contrast of one hand legato, one staccato, I think is the perfect mix. So in your practicing this week, really watch for the articulations and bring those out. Finally, you can really bring this piece to life with careful attention to phrasing. Let me change colors again. I'm showing lots of different things in the music here. With phrasing, part of your job is to think about which are the most important notes. I want you to think about never playing two notes in a row the same way. So even just these first two notes, which one is more important? If you said this one, you're correct. So I'm going to put we've got so many symbols here, but I'm going to put a star right there. Why not this one? Well, CPE Bach decided to make this a pickup note. Notice beat 1 is always immediately after the bar line, and that's why we don't play this the strongest. CPE Bach wanted us da-yum-bum. Notice how that note is the emphasis. That's the D, and it's like this note is getting us ready. A pickup note is always building up to the downbeat. And 1, and 2, and 1. So there's another important note. Notice the notes are stepping up. Often notes will step up or leap or jump up to a climax note. It's also often placed on a downbeat. 1, and 2, and 1. So you're going to do a little crescendo. Even though it's not marked in the music, this is part of being an artist at the piano, is you're shaping the notes. You're making them exciting, deciding which are the important ones. Now, instead of making this downbeat the most important, notice the notes keep stepping up. So this time, let's do an even bigger crescendo and make this our climax note. And then maybe we'll decrescendo a little bit. And then maybe this is also maybe a mini climax. Maybe this one's the bigger climax, maybe a double star, and this is a single star. You're adding shape. No two climaxes are even going to be the same. Maybe this one's a little more than this one, or maybe you make this one a little more than this one. That's part of the choices you get to make as an artist. But don't make all your climaxes the same. Everything has variety in music. Notice the left hand every once in a while gets some legatos too, like here with these eighth notes. So have some fun with that and bring that out. When the left hand is doing something interesting, it gets a moment to shine. Have fun with that. And then make sure those trills are nice and light and crisp. Finally, right here, where's the climax? I feel it right here on the high note. So I feel like we're building up to one big hooray at the end. Same thing here. We're going to let this note build up to the climax on the downbeat. But now it's piano. And this dynamic contrast, I think, is a lot of fun. Again, CPE Bach didn't put this in. I put that in because I wanted something new here. We're softer. Why did I make it softer here? A, because I wanted something different, but also I feel like these notes going up, up, up. Notice how all of these phrases are building in an upward direction. So I saw that as a really great time to do a crescendo. I'm sure if CPE Bach was playing this for us today on one of our pianos, he would be doing this too. Even though he didn't put it in the music, we know that they put a lot of feeling into their music from accounts that people wrote from the day. It wasn't their tradition to write it in, so we have to put it in. So we're going to build up this phrase, and then we might drop back down a little bit and then grow again with this phrase, and then I feel like this is the highest part, and then the left hand gets a really important moment to shine right here. See, the right hand's kind of settling down for a moment, so the left hand gets to really have some fun there. And even give that some shape. Not all the notes are going to be equally loud. I like to grow the phrase to the middle and then taper off at the end. See, I backed off a little bit at the end so I can make way for the right hand to take the spotlight again. And I might do a little crescendo, decrescendo there. There can be shapes within the shapes. So everything is alive and growing. And then big drive. This, to me, is like the triple star, big climax of the whole piece. Because, look, we're coming up on the grand finale, the cadence at the end of the section, but we lead up to that. There's like when all the trumpets are playing. Okay, maybe that's the triple star. I don't know. You get to choose. Is this the highlight or is this the highlight? Make these choices. I'm showing you how I think about interpreting this piece, how I bring it to life. But at the end of the day, you are the artist. It's like you're holding hands with Bach and making some amazing music together. Yes, he chose the notes, he wrote it down, but now you bring them to life. So, in your practicing this week, do some hands alone work so you can really practice shaping each part, the right hand and the left hand alone. The left hand has its own melody occasionally, like with these little moments, and especially here, like in measure 17. You want all those special moments in both hands to really be shaped and confident. Then bring it back hands together. Choose one artistic element at a time to focus on. Maybe one time, okay, I'm going to really focus on phrasing. This time, I'm going to really focus on articulations. And then, of course, you're going to work on your tempo, use metronome, use all the practice tools I've taught you about to make this piece the best you can make it. And have lots of fun making music with March in D major. Great job practicing playing March in D with Artistry today. Thanks for watching and learning with me, and happy practicing.
Here's one for you. What do you do when your pickle falls on the ground?
I don't know.
Deal with it.
Okay, here's another food joke for you.
Okay.
What day do potatoes hate the most?
I don't know.
Friday.
I'll bet you're right about that.
You're a salty one.